Hello, you reached PRS, the Preternatural Research Society. Please leave a message after the beep.
3 a.m. on Thursday, PRS receives a call from the Gills. They moved into their house 1 year ago and are being haunted by ghosts who gather in the kitchen. PRS is on the scene the next day. Everything you're about to see is real. All events take place over the course of a weekend. The psychics and the investigators have no prior knowledge to the specifics of the case.
It just feels like there's something else here.
I have no idea who they are. I have no idea why they're here.
I'm watched. I'm very much watched.
This room feels very alive, very electric, very charged.
I think someone else lives here with us. Many people might live here with us.
I feel a child hiding up here.
This is a voice that shouldn't be there at all.
I don't feel that this child sleeps alone. This is absolutely amazing. Look at that.
I'm always trying to find a rational explanation for it, and I think part of this is that there really isn't.
Each week, the Preternatural Research Society, a seasoned team of renowned psychics and historical researchers, has an urgent mission. Over the course of a 3-day investigation, they must scientifically uncover paranormal threats, remove unwanted spirits, and return a home to its rightful owners.
One year ago, Jim and Michelle Gill and their 2 young children moved into a 2-century-old home in western New Jersey. Ever since, they have experienced a number of disturbing paranormal incidents. With no idea who could be haunting them or why, they've called in PRS to help. Daryl Mitzen, PRS team leader and occult specialist. Jane Dougherty, world-renowned medium, recognized as one of America's top 25 psychics. Susan P.A., psychic healer and energy work specialist with a degree in clinical psychology. Kiki Mandalosis, psychic intuitive with an expertise in spiritual cleansing. Friday evening, the team arrives at the Gills home.
Hello. How are you, Daryl?
How are you, Jim?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Michelle, how are you? Chances are, a house that's 200 years old, it's not a definite yes that there'd be haunting, but it just makes sense that you're more likely to find something in an old house versus a new house.
Hi, Jane. My first impression, I kept seeing Revolutionary War soldiers.
Hi, Michelle.
Susan, very nice to meet you. I'm Jim.
When I was coming up here, I did feel somebody on the side of the road, and he was somebody who was an early settler to this area, perhaps the original owner.
Hey.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
The first thing I felt was the presence of a male, and I kept hearing the name Willie.
I know where these little guys.
This is my daughter, Madeline, my son, Cooper, and this is our Uncle Keith.
Uncle Keith. Do I believe in spooks? No, I don't at all, actually. The only ghosts I've ever seen were in the movie.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
In fear of the consequences of this investigation, the young children are sent to stay with their grandparents for the weekend.
Give me a kiss.
Go.
Have a good time, okay?
Come on, Coop. Bye.
As darkness falls, PRS sits down for dinner with the family in hopes of learning more about the paranormal activity they've been experiencing.
We've experienced things in almost every room of this house. The footsteps in the hallway.
When I'm in the dining room, you know, there's odd shadows that are cast in that room.
I don't like going in the basement. I do try to get out of there as quickly as possible. I feel like we have company all the time.
Michelle, Jim, I was actually wondering, before you moved here and, this happened, did you believe in ghosts before this?
I think I always believed that there wasn't just us in the world here. There's been so many things that have happened that are just too weird, too unexplainable to forget.
Michelle presents herself in a very credible way. and I believe that she wants to get to the bottom of what's going on here for her.
A police officer for over 15 years, Jim thought he had seen it all until he moved into this house.
Even saying paranormal sounds odd coming out of my mouth. I have never experienced anything like this ever.
Knowing that he's a police officer, I trust what he sees, I trust what he hears. And I know that of course, he's gonna face some criticism from all the other officers that he works with.
This is something that will probably haunt me the rest of my career. No pun intended there, but it will.
There's no doubt that the Gills are experiencing paranormal activity within their home. The question is it a threat?
If there's any negative reason why they're here, I think it would be a good idea for them to leave.
So far, the team has detected nothing harmful, but the investigation has only just begun.
This is just a first impression. I mean, there could be surprises. There always are.
I like to break the ice and say that I don't believe in ghosts.
Our non-believer is a character. Are you a Sagittarian by any chance?
No, I'm Armenian.
He has comments to make, and he jokes, so he does a lot of playing with us.
If you were to see something, are you willing to believe, or are you just diehard?
I want that ghost to come up to me.
So you are willing?
Sure, and if I drink enough wine, I'll probably see a ghost.
Despite Uncle Keith's joking, the ghost investigation is no laughing matter for the Gills. While the psychics learn more about the family over dinner, PRS researcher Kenny Roginski and his associate Emily Snyder searched the local library. By uncovering historical information about the house, the property, and the surrounding area, they will help the psychics solve the mystery of who is haunting the property and why. Back at the house, Daryl speaks privately with Michelle and Jim. To ensure that the psychics are not influenced, this information is not shared.
We ran into a realtor, and he tells us that the house is haunted.
Remember, he said, I won't go in there. I won't go in there.
That's
My
right.
wife won't go in there.
Yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
he did.
He wants nothing to do with this house.
Jim, you believe that the house is haunted?
I know what I've experienced in the home and what I've felt in the home, and that it's nothing that I've felt anywhere else. I can't come up with a rational explanation for the things that I've heard. And
All I know is I've never felt alone here. I feel like there's something else, going on here.
Let me just jump into some of the experiences that Michelle told me that happened in the kitchen.
I so don't like talking about this at all. I was hoping you would go to Jim first. I was going into the kitchen to get something to drink, and I saw people in the kitchen. They said as I walked in, here she comes.
Here she comes, here she comes, here she comes.
All in a split second, I thought, oh God, just get something quickly and go back upstairs. As I went to leave, I heard them say,
She's leaving, she's leaving.
She's leaving.
Jim, I know you also had a pretty big experience.
Michelle was out with the kids, Madeline and Cooper. And I was on a computer, and I hear footsteps upstairs. I stand up to go see who it is or what it is, and I hear the footsteps pick up and run down the hall. At that point, I think there's somebody burglarizing the home. I checked every door, and I checked every closet. I checked under the bed. There wasn't anything I left unturned where a person could be in the house.
Have you heard footsteps since then?
Yeah, all the time in the hallway. Probably twice a week.
While Daryl interviews the family, Jane and Kiki begin investigating the house in search of more answers about the spirit they sensed when they arrived.
I kept seeing Revolutionary War soldiers.
I kept hearing the name Willie.
Meanwhile, Susan senses something on the property and heads out into the night to investigate.
I'm just being told there's a watchful eye on this property. I feel very strongly that there's a man in the house who is overseeing the way things are done. Like the lord of the land, in a way, somebody who's overseeing everything here, the farm, the house, making sure that everything is kept just so.
Who is this lord of the land that Susan senses watching over the property? Could it be the Revolutionary War soldier that Jane picked up earlier? Coming up, a startling discovery.
This is a voice that shouldn't be there at all.
PRS captures a voice from beyond the grave. With the investigation underway, the psychics have already detected spiritual energy throughout the Gills' home. While walking outside, Susan sensed a male entity watching over the property, possibly a spirit dating back to the Revolutionary War. Susan continues to sense the male spirit inside the house.
Is there somebody with me? Step forward.
The presence reveals itself to Susan with greater clarity.
This man feels tall to me. I hear Sweet William, Sweet William, Sweet William.
Is this the same William that Kiki sensed when she first arrived at the house?
I kept hearing the name Willie.
And is William the name of the male entity from the Revolutionary War that the psychics are sensing? Jane, along with non-believer Keith, ventures upstairs. She also senses the male spirit.
It's definitely not a modern man. Baggy pants. Also getting, it's looking as though there's glasses or small glasses on the man. But these baggy kind of pants. No, not like yours.
Like these?
No, it's a period kind of clothing.
And small glasses like this. It's me.
It's not you.
That's what you saw. This is where I sleep. They were seeing things and feeling things, and I didn't feel. I didn't know what they were looking at.
It's almost making me feel, and it's not, but as though I would be looking at somebody like Benjamin Franklin.
I don't see him.
Oh, I know you don't.
Yeah, no.
The energy trail of the male ghost leads Jane to the adjoining hallway.
I keep feeling as though there's going to be something that comes and it's going to go here and maybe go back and forth.
Jane senses that the spirit walks this hallway.
I think that you might hear footsteps.
Amazingly, with no prior knowledge of Jim's experience, Jane has sensed footsteps in this hallway.
They were loud footsteps. You know, I know what I heard that day, and there's no account for it.
Who is this ghost who haunts the upstairs hall? The psychic investigation has revealed a male ghost, possibly named William, who lived during colonial times. As Kiki explores the kitchen, she discovers another spirit, a female entity also from the colonial era.
I see a woman in white tending to a lot of people, but I don't see her enjoying herself. I see a woman constantly giving, constantly doing as if it were a chore, her duty.
Upstairs, Susan picks up the same female entity that Kiki sensed.
I feel like there's an older woman in here, and I feel like this woman is sick. I'm feeling like I'm trembling. I'm feeling really weak in the knees. Oh boy, somebody very sick in this room. I mean, it's just very, very strong here. Something with the chest, the upper respiratory here. I'm really having a hard time. I don't want to, you know, my throat's, it feels like it's closing up here. This woman that I'm feeling, I feel she passed in this room.
PRS has now discovered both a male and a female ghost, each from colonial times. Could these two spirits be somehow related? Continuing the investigation, Jane stands at the doorway of the kitchen. She is startled by what she discovers. Not one or even two entities, but an entire group of ghosts.
Whoa, 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 whoa. I am getting a really, really strong feeling down in this room. It's given me the creeps. My body is actually shaking, and I have trepidation about going in here. I'm watched. I'm very much watched. It gives me the willies. It feels as though I'm really being watched in here.
Are the spirits that Jane senses in the kitchen the same ones that startled Michelle in the night?
I saw people in the kitchen. It was almost like a flash that I saw them. I was scared.
There's something going on, like somebody's talking, and it feels like it's more than one.
With no prior knowledge of Michelle's experiences in the kitchen, Jane psychically senses exactly what happened to her.
I wonder if they hear voices of any sort, because my sense of hearing here just wants to expand.
I heard people talking, and I heard them say, "Here she comes."
Here she comes.
We hadn't been drinking, we hadn't been sleeping, I wasn't dreaming, I wasn't sleepwalking. That's just what happened.
Coming up, a startling discovery.
This is a voice that shouldn't be there at all.
A message from the other side. PRS has recorded the voice of a ghost. Day 2 of the investigation begins. PRS has discovered a multitude of spirits in the Gill home. A male, possibly a soldier from the Revolutionary War, who still looks over the property. A woman, also from colonial times, who labors endlessly in the kitchen and suffers from an unbearably painful illness. And a group of spirits gathered in the kitchen who terrify homeowner Michelle. Despite the psychic's findings, non-believer Keith remains unconvinced that there is paranormal activity in the Gill's home.
After being in the house for one day and then going through the rooms with the psychics and trying to look for ghosts, I'm just as skeptical now as I was yesterday.
PRS has called in illustrator Trevor McCarthy to help visualize what the psychics have sensed. Kiki describes to Trevor the suffering female entity that she sensed in the kitchen.
I saw very clearly a woman in a long white dress, possibly in the late 1700s era, and she was constantly in movement, as if she was serving people, not smiling, not happy. It looked as if she was working, that this was part of her chore, her duty.
Still, the mystery remains. Who is this woman in the Gill's kitchen, and who is she serving? PRS researcher Kenny arrives to provide the historical information that may help solve the mystery of who these spirits are. He begins with the original owner of the house.
Colonel William McCullough was the first owner of the house, built it in the late 1700s, lived there with his wife, Sarah, and 2 daughters. McCullough was known for his involvement in the Revolutionary War, and he fought in the Battle of Germantown, which was a very bloody battle.
Under the leadership of General George Washington, 9,000 Continental Army soldiers attacked the British at Germantown, Pennsylvania. More than 1,000 Americans were killed, captured, or wounded. One militiaman described the battle as a living hell. Although he escaped uninjured, this battle was one of the seminal events in William McCullough's life.
We did pick up a male figure of a spirit, and we did also get images of a Revolutionary War soldier.
Jane's psychic vision is confirmed by the historical information. Additionally, both Susan and Kiki have also picked up the name William.
I kept hearing the name Willie.
I hear Sweet William, Sweet William, Sweet William.
All this evidence leads PRS to conclude that the male spirit is in fact the original owner of the Gill's home, William McCullough, who fought in the Revolutionary War.
Kenny, I had picked up an image of a woman who was dressed in colonial clothing. I see a woman constantly giving, constantly doing, as if it were a chore.
Back in those days, it was not easy to be a woman. Your daily chores was just brutal. Cooking on an open hearth stove. When the men were away at war, then it was also managing the business, and they worked like horses.
But who is the colonial woman that worked so hard and was sensed by Kiki in the house? Could she be the wife of William McCullough? Susan also sensed a female spirit from colonial times.
I feel like there's an older woman in here, and I feel like this woman is sick.
According to historical records, Mrs. McCullough suffered from a long and debilitating respiratory illness. This information confirms Susan's psychic vision.
this woman that I'm feeling, feel she passed in this room.
In 1810, Mrs. Sarah McCullough died in the home where the Gills now live. All of this overwhelming evidence has led PRS to conclude that the female spirit haunting the house must be the ghost of Sarah McCullough.
Kenny, one of the things that we all picked up was the sense of a gathering, a meeting.
Homeowner Michelle has also sensed the gathering.
I saw people in the kitchen.
Who are these spirits in the kitchen, and how are they connected to William McCullough?
William McCullough was very good friends with Bishop Asbury, who founded the Methodist movement in the United States.
In fact, William McCullough donated the land upon which the first Methodist church in Asbury was built.
After the war, he'd have a number of meetings in his house to discuss promoting the religion and building the church in town.
This historical research has led PRS to the conclusion that the spirits haunting the kitchen are early Methodists.
We saw the Revolutionary War soldier, but then we also saw this gathering of people. And now we can see how it's connected.
PRS now believes that they know the identity of the ghosts in the Gills' home. Still, the team needs to gather scientific data to support their beliefs. The team breaks out their recording equipment. They will attempt to capture electronic voice phenomenon. EVPs are the voices of the dead, which lie beyond the range of human hearing, captured on audio tape. Using a digital recorder, Daryl asks a series of questions. He hopes to capture the sounds of spirits responding.
We want you to talk on this tape. Let us know that you're here. Can you make a noise so that we know you're here?
Having finished collecting EVPs, they head to the PRS van to listen for the voices of the dead. During the analysis of the recording, a startling discovery is made.
I'm just gonna play it. It's not so loud, so listen carefully. I'll play it for you a few times.
That's it. I heard it.
Could this be the voice of a ghost attempting to communicate with the living? Daryl isolates the sound and increases the volume so the EVP can be heard more clearly.
Definitely talking.
Definitely.
It's obvious there's something there.
PRS has determined that the voice captured on tape is that of a male ghost.
You know, the rest of the tape, there's nothing even similar to that.
To me, it sounds like it's saying Oswald.
Let's hear it again. You know, it sounds like Oswald, but I'm not quite sure. This may be All's Well.
Although PRS has made thousands of recordings over the course of their investigations, it's extremely rare for them to capture the voice of a ghost on tape.
This, to us, in our experience, in our years of research, is a definite anomaly. This is a voice that shouldn't be there at all.
Based on this EVP, I think we all feel there's definitely something here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's pretty compelling. It's pretty compelling.
Coming up, an alarming discovery. PRS stakes out the hallway.
That was weird.
And has an uncomfortably close encounter with a ghost. As the second night of the investigation continues, PRS believes they have determined the identities of the ghosts haunting the Gills' home. The male spirit they sensed watching over the property is William McCullough, a Revolutionary War soldier and the original owner of the house. McCullough's wife, Sarah, an unhappy woman who worked despite a severe illness that led to her death in the home, also haunts the property. PRS has concluded that the group of spirits who congregate in the kitchen are early Methodists gathered for a meeting. And most astonishing of all, the team has captured the voice of a ghost on audio tape. But still, they have not discovered the identity of the spirit who walks the upstairs hallway. The psychics continue their investigation. Upstairs, Susan suddenly discovers a powerful and mysterious force.
There's, straight down that hallway, there's a tunnel of energy that goes shooting down there.
The energy that Susan picked up confirms homeowner Jim's experience of hearing a spirit walking in the upstairs hallway.
The footsteps that I heard that day were vivid and clear.
PRS suspects that this may be a portal for the spirit that walks the hall, a rift in the barrier that separates the living and the dead. In order to summon this spirit and determine who it is, PRS positions themselves at either end of the hallway. They will use their bodies as psychic antennas. They have set up multiple devices, including temperature monitors, infrared and thermal cameras.
I'm trying to experience any phenomena of the spirits of the house, most especially this person that walks back and forth.
The team patiently waits for contact and assures the spirit of their good intentions.
Don't be worried and concerned about us. We're not going to do anything to hurt you. I just heard a vibration behind me. Yeah, I heard that too.
Was that noise on your side?
Yeah.
Was it one of you?
No.
As if the sound has signaled something approaching, the team feels the temperature suddenly drop.
There's a cold air coming between Kiki and me.
A rush of cold air may indicate a rift in the barrier.
It's getting stronger.
There's something there.
Could this be the ghost of William McCullough, the Revolutionary War soldier that the psychics have sensed both inside and outside the house? PRS calls out to him, hoping to initiate contact.
William, are you here?
That was weird.
Incredibly, the ghost has responded. PRS now concludes that the spirit that walks the hallway is that of William McCullough. That night, Jane, Michelle, and non-believer Keith sleep in the kitchen. PRS believes that by spending the night in the hotspot, they might actually make contact with the ghost. Michelle and Keith rise early, leaving Jane alone in the kitchen. Later that morning, Jane is contacted. She wakes up startled. Keith and Susan join her to find out what happened.
I'm lying down like this. All of a sudden, I heard this mattress go down as though somebody was on it. Went to sit on it. That it unnerved me. This freaked me because I was just. It's just the idea of knowing that there is somebody laying down next to you that's not a human being. If I had to be here another night, you would not catch me in this room again.
But Jane isn't the only one who had an experience during the night.
I didn't have any dreams, but when I went upstairs, I heard something creak by me. I didn't see anybody up there, but it creaked away from me.
Non-believer Keith heard something that he cannot explain. Although not yet a believer, he seems more receptive to the possibility of ghosts.
So I don't know what it was. Maybe it was something.
That's good. I'm glad. You had an experience. I don't mind I got scared.
If you had a paranormal experience, it was worth it.
Although the psychics now feel that Keith is more open to the possibility that ghosts exist, he still seems determined to remain a non-believer.
If there were ghosts with all the people that have lived on this planet, it'd be awfully crowded. We wouldn't have enough room for the real people.
He continues to resist PRS's attempts to convince him of the reality of the spirit world.
We're gonna hope and wish that his handlebar mustache kind of like stands up when spirit is near.
If I say that the psychics are frauds, are they going to be mad at me?
I feel as though it's a duel where he really is challenging us.
Jane is taking Keith on the ultimate paranormal ride. Now Keith wants to return the favor.
So this is gonna be your chance to make me afraid.
Come on, Mama, get on. I scared her anyway. That was payback time.
Coming up, during the seance, the appearance of an entity leads to a painful and dramatic struggle. As the final day of the investigation begins, Daryl presents the psychic's findings thus far to Michelle, Jim, and non-believer Keith. He begins with entity number 1, the male ghost.
We can guess, based on the fact that two of the psychics came up with only one name each, and that was William, that it was William, the very first owner, the person that founded this house.
The spirit is William McCullough, a Revolutionary War soldier. He's been picked up in different parts of the home, but the upstairs hallway is his favorite place to haunt.
Footsteps that I heard that day were vivid and clear.
You've heard the footsteps, they felt it. That's the man. That's the man that walks back and forth in the hallway.
Entity number 2, the ghost of William McCullough's wife, a woman who diligently labored in the household despite her failing health. Mrs. McCullough was also sensed in the kitchen, serving a gathering of ghosts.
In the kitchen, what you had heard, a meeting place.
I saw people in the kitchen.
This is where the psychics kept picking up this feeling of we. They kept saying it's a collective feeling. There's more than one person here.
In all, PRS has confirmed the presence of 2 ghosts, as well as the gathering of several of their friends. Daryl also presents a startling scientific discovery, the voice of a ghost recorded on audio tape.
The EVP that we got, you hear what sounds like a person saying something from a distance. A lot of things it could be saying. Oswald was the first one that came to people's minds, but it's hard to tell.
The team speculates that the voice could be saying, "All's well." The meaning and origin of this EVP continues to elude the psychics. Kenny has found some information that could help solve the mystery of the EVP.
Well, I went online, I did a search for Oswald, and what I found was something that might be a match. Richard Oswald was a wealthy Englishman who was involved in signing the Treaty of Paris.
The Treaty of Paris ended the war between the British Empire and the American colonies. But the question is, if the EVP is referring to Richard Oswald, what connection did he have with William McCullough?
So were they friends? Where it was?
No, they did not know each other. However, it just was a significant thing in McCullough's life and resulted in the end of the war.
I'm having a hard time seeing the correlation between the EVP and this historical connection. I think it's kind of a stretch.
How about the all's well, which is what we also thought it might have said? Did that come up at all, or?
All's well, yes. In colonial history, the town crier would shout all's well while ringing the church bell.
Church?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Signifying that everything was all right.
And that could be a way of even the spirit giving us a signification that everything is all right.
All is well.
William McCullough was a deeply religious man and a key promoter of the Methodist faith in the United States. It now seems clear that it is his voice on the EVP signaling that all's well from the other side. Having completed the psychic, scientific, and research phases of the investigation, Jane leads Michelle, Jim, and non-believer Keith in a seance, a last attempt to communicate with the ghosts that dwell in the Gills' home.
We ask any spirits that are present in the house to make themselves known. This is your opportunity to communicate.
The thermal camera is used to record temperature. A sudden drop could indicate the presence of spirits. Cold registers as blue, hot as red.
I am beginning to feel a cold breeze in the center of the circle.
As the seance proceeds, the room has clearly become more blue. The temperature has dropped, and the spirits may have arrived.
All right, we're beginning to feel you. We want you to continue. Just keep marching in.
As Jane beckons the spirits to join the seance, Susan senses the female ghost they picked up earlier. The spirit of Mrs. McCullough.
I feel like the woman of the house is with me, and she's looking over here at Michelle, and I feel her with me. I have a heaviness in my heart. I want to hunch over a little bit.
Susan sensed that Mrs. McCullough had been gravely ill and, in fact, had died in the house.
This woman that I'm feeling, till she passed in this room.
Strongly feeling the presence of Mrs. McCullough's spirit, Susan is suddenly overcome by her suffering.
Okay. There's so much emotion coming up on this.
Try to let her speak through you. Try to get what it is and how she died.
Mrs. McCullough shares with Susan the great pain she experienced during her life of hard labor.
Let me try to release her.
Now, Jane must release Mrs. McCullough's spirit from her pain so that she may finally rest in peace.
Try to breathe in sync with me, Susan, and I'll get it to release. Okay. Oh, God, she's in pain.
The powerful reverberations from the release of the spirit are even felt by Jim, a police officer for over 15 years.
I actually have sweat on my body right now.
Jim tries to comprehend the uncontrollable sweating and shaking that he experienced as the spirit moved into the light.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just a little bizarre for me, but it's fine. Okay.
A little different for a police officer, huh?
It's a little strange for me right now.
Although they have already released the spirit of Mrs. McCullough, Jane senses the presence of still more ghosts. The seance is not over yet. Coming up, what happens as the seance continues, leaving the family in a state of shock, and a new, as yet undetected spirit arrives. As the final day of the investigation continues, PRS has detected an enormous amount of paranormal activity in the Gill home. They've discovered the spirits of the original owners, Colonel William McCullough, a Revolutionary War soldier, and his wife Sarah, an extremely hard-working but ailing woman who died in this very home. PRS has initiated a seance to communicate with these spirits. So far, they have released Mrs. McCullough's ghost into the light. After taking a moment to recover from the emotionally draining release, Jane continues the seance, and what she is about to encounter will take everyone by surprise. A new spirit will make its presence known.
All right, let's close our eyes again. Any other spirits that are in this house, we ask that you make your presence known to us now. I got a clear image of a face in front of me. It's like something's trying to manifest. God, the pain in my neck. It's a strange, strange feeling.
Jane, letting the spirit guide her, is drawn toward Keith.
As I came over to you, the pain that I was feeling was released from me. Are you feeling any pain, Keith, any place?
No, actually I have no pain, and normally I have lots of pain.
2 years ago, Keith had major surgery. He still experiences severe pain on a daily basis, but during the seance, the pain miraculously disappears.
Normally I have pain all the time, and now I don't have any.
Well, then that could be a sign that spirit is around you and taking away the pain.
What spirit could have accomplished this incredible healing? Is this the ghost of William McCullough, or is there another yet unidentified spirit in their midst? Suddenly, Jane receives a psychic vision that helps to identify who this healing spirit is.
Because I'm feeling that there's like a healing going on. Somebody who grew figs. He's not giving me his name, but I just know it's a relative. He grew figs, and he's sending healing energy to you. Who grew the figs?
My father-in-law.
Keith immediately knew that Jane was referring to his father-in-law, Antonio Renda. His most cherished possessions were the 2 fig trees that he brought with him when he immigrated from Italy. Keith's recently departed father-in-law was also Michelle's grandfather.
My Uncle Keith takes care of his fig tree. My grandfather and Uncle Keith were very, very close.
He's sending healing energy to you.
She said that my father was sending something to heal me or make me feel better, and possibly it was working.
Across the circle of joined hands, Michelle, too, is affected by her grandfather's visiting spirit.
What's going on? What are you feeling?
Just sad.
Just sad? Okay, are you relating to the family member?
Mm-hmm.
Michelle's grandfather was the beloved patriarch of the family. She was extremely close to him her entire life.
It's okay. This is good news.
My grandfather is one who stands back and looks and watches and protects that way.
I'm just being told there's healing coming, and he's trying to help from the other side.
As Jane senses a gift of healing energy from the other side, Michelle experiences a feeling of gratefulness for her grandfather's visit.
I'm good.
It's okay.
I feel like this was a very, very special experience for us.
She always believes that Papa's looking down on her, and I think it's just reestablished that.
That's why she got very emotional, because she realized it was him, and she loved him so much, which I didn't know.
The seance profoundly affected non-believer Keith.
Jane is like a conduit to some other place. It was pretty amazing.
The skeptic, there's, to me, a definite transformation in him.
It was just very strange.
It was satisfying because I got the skeptic to transform, and I really felt this was going to be one I wasn't going to be able to get.
The seance's surprise ending not only shocked the family, but PRS as well. Antonio Renda, Michelle's grandfather and Keith's father-in-law, made his presence felt in a profound and emotional way. And after a heart-wrenching and painful struggle, the ghost of Sarah McCullough was released into the afterlife. As for the ever-present ghost of William McCullough, surprisingly, he was never felt during the seance. PRS believes that his spirit will continue to watch over the house and the property, as he has done for the past 200 years. With the investigation complete, PRS feels confident that they have solved the mystery of the Gill haunting and reassured the family that all's well in their home.
Well, bye. Okay. Wow, what an ending. It was like a terrific ending.
Michelle. Kiki, thanks for coming.
I think this weekend was a great success. This is just going to be something we're going to talk about for a very long time.
We're gonna miss you guys.
I know, I'll miss you too.
We're gonna miss you guys.
You never know what's going to happen. That's what's amazing. So it was really unusual and beautiful in how it ended.
Let us know how everything goes.
Oh boy. Regarding paranormal activity, I think the one thing that I learned is that it's more of a personal thing. I think that everybody may have it, but maybe not everyone realizes it.
Yeah, please let us know how things work out, okay?
They own a haunted house, and the house continued to be haunted. And I think they're going to be able to deal with it. You know, it sounds funny, but maybe they'll come to appreciate the fact that there are spirits in their house.
4 weeks later, the emotional highs of the investigation still resound with the family, but it was the seance and Jane's psychic vision that had the most lasting effect.
The end of that weekend was like nothing I don't think our family will ever experience. That's the first time that I think we had spent that much time talking about my grandfather all together since he had died. I feel very lucky almost that had happened.
I think that Uncle Keith was affected more than anyone. And when he was leaving that day, he gave me a hug. I don't think the man's ever hugged me in his life. So for him to give me a hug, you know, it had an impact.
Nothing's happened since everyone's left.
I haven't had any experiences since then. It seems a little more peaceful here now.
It's been really quiet at night. We've been sleeping really well. The dog hasn't seen anything. The kids haven't seen anything or heard anything.
Maybe Jane scared them away. She scared me.